You're frozen.
Hello, everyone. Nicole Anderson here again. Another episode for Create Her Own TV. And today I have Jessica, and we're going to be talking about a very important, very important topic. And it's not balance because we don't like the word balance, right, Jessica? We don't like it. Work-life harmony. So I just wanted you to just quickly introduce yourself. Let us know what you do, who you like to help, and that kind of thing.
Sure. Thanks for having me. First of all, I'm Jessie Halvorsen. I am the founder and CEO of Mom Elevated, and I love helping mom entrepreneurs find their center in
Yes.
the whole juggle of what we do. I like to help them increase their impact and income without breaking the bonds that they have with their babies.
Oh, I love your tagline. When I saw it the first time, I was like, because
Right?
I feel like we're trained to think balance, like, oh, you've got to find that work-life balance. And that's what everybody tells us. And we're like, what even is that? Does it exist?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's why I think it's such a crock because when you hear the term balance, you think it's got to be like the equilibrium. So
Right.
you've got to have equal amounts in each section, but that's not how it works, like ever. So it's really just finding that center, which is going to change throughout your day, throughout your week. It's going to be different all the time. And you
Mm-hmm.
just have to find what feels good to you in that moment. And it's really about releasing a lot of that guilt that we have.
Oh, guilt. Yeah, we got that. We got that over here. We got that everywhere, really. I mean, I think that's just a mom thing. Guilt and just a segue, just to segue straight into it, the burnout. So the goal is to not get to that burnout point, to recognize the signs of it and to recognize this is where I'm heading. I should probably do something about it. So if you can tell us a little bit about how to recognize those signs and maybe where to look for them. Maybe it's in your face.
Yeah, right.
When you
I-
cry every night.
right, right. My mom used to have a sign that said something about don't look at me in that tone of voice. And that's 100%. But so for me, recognizing the signs of burnout, I was always grown up to believe I thought I was a hothead. Like I was quick to anger. That's just
Mhm.
what we did in our family, right? We
Right.
were very loud, we were very boisterous. You had to talk over each other if you wanted to be heard because we were a big family too. Extended family. We grew up going out to my grandma's a lot, and my mom has 5 siblings, so we had lots of
Oh
cousins,
my
lots of
goodness.
all the things. Yes, right? Holidays were crazy.
Oh, talking about
But
burnout.
yeah, exactly. But also there were a lot of hands to help, so it wasn't so bad. But as I got older and as I had kids, I was like, this is not who I want to be. I don't want to be that quick to anger person. And I don't think it's conducive to communicating or to really listening and hearing what's going on. So for me, burnout for me looks like when I start getting really irritable, when I start snipping and snapping at people, then I realize that there's something going on that I have probably allowed a boundary to be crossed
Right.
too many times.
Hmm.
So that's when I need to look at what am I putting on my plate? Have I given myself enough space to rest and recuperate? And what is it exactly that's pressing those buttons? Because yeah, of
Usually
course
the
it's gonna be
kids,
like chaos, but yeah, right. Your kids are always gonna push your buttons and they know them. They know them very well.
maybe
But
sometimes the husband.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes the husband. But the way that we choose to react to it is
Mhm.
going to be the difference between am I super overwhelmed or am I able to, handle this properly?
Right.
So that's kind of what I look at for burnout and where to go from there. But it might look different for you, so that's why it's really fun to
I,
dive into how we
I
operate.
honestly, I think that mine's the same. I think the when I notice that I'm like, your presence is annoying me.
Right, right.
It can mean only one of two things. One, I'm heading towards burnout, or two, I'm PMSing. Can
Yeah,
only be
yeah,
those two things.
right?
Nobody actually annoys me that much anymore. Like my kids are finally at the age where they're like they entertain themselves.
That's
and
silly.
they can make food for themselves and all these things. So like I feel like I've transitioned to uh my kids are less of a burnout trigger for me than me right now. Like I've got all of these things in the air and I'm just like, do all of them. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that is a big one, the snappiness.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's a really big because it's something that we often attribute to just like PMS or being a woman, but that's not always the case. 90% of the time, it's because
Yeah.
we've created some sort of situation that we don't feel like we have control over it anymore.
And I love
Uh,
how you say to look at like what boundaries that you allowed somebody to cross, or you didn't follow, I guess, what boundary you didn't follow. But it's I feel like most of it comes down to that. Like our boundaries, we set our boundaries, and if something crosses over that, and truthfully we allow it to be so. That's my whole thing is I'm where I'm at right now because of decisions I've made or decisions I've allowed other people to make for me. So
yeah,
the boundary thing is huge. I mean, that could be a whole separate episode.
100%.
Completely. so
100.
so when you talk about how old are your kids? You have younger kids?
I
Kids
do. I
that are
have
home?
three. Well, I have them all over the map because they're 4 years apart. So I have
Mhm.
three kids, and they're 13. One will be 6 in just a couple of weeks now, on the 12th of April, and then
Oh,
I have a 9-year-old. So
so you
they're
have kids home a lot of the day, right? Is
I
that
homeschool now.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
so there you go. Okay. Perfect segue into this next question. Managing the distractions and the, our energy going all these different ways, especially when you're talking about homeschooling and working from home. Like how do you maximize your, I guess, spreading yourself to all of these places, really?
yeah, yeah. Well, absolutely. And not only do I homeschool, but my husband works out of state 90% of the time. So he doesn't even, for the past 5 years, he comes home usually like once a weekend, or once a month on a weekend.
Wow.
So we don't see him super frequently. This
Oh
year
my
has been
goodness.
different because we've had lots of things going on. But yeah, so it's me 90% of the time taking care of all the things.
Wow.
I would like to say that planners are my best friend. So I have a planner for homeschool. Specifically, I plan out their usually semester, and then I break it down into the weeks. So then I write down each week what they have to do. And that has been really nice because my 13-year-old will look at the planner. He knows I write it in there. So he'll look at what he has to do for that day. And he'll be like, I've got this. I don't need your help. I can do this. And then I'll just check it when I start. Yeah. And so my 9-year-old, who will be 10 this year, has started doing the same thing. What do I have going on today? Because she sees that. So like it's nice to give them the opportunity, and it gives him kind of the autonomy to say, "Hey, I don't want to do this today. Can I do it tomorrow
Oh,
instead?"
that's awesome. Yeah.
So that's been really fun to just see and watch. Sometimes he gets himself into a pickle where then he's upset that he put
Right.
something off.
Mm-hmm.
But we're learning, so it's okay. And then I also have a planner for my work, and I have not just my work, I guess, and work and personal items.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to break it down. I now plan pretty much my entire year for business.
Oh my
And then I
goodness.
just, yeah,
Look
yeah.
at you.
It's just like an overall picture, though. It's not necessarily like specifics,
Yeah.
but it gives me a better idea of what I need to do each month. And then again, I break it down monthly, and then I break it down weekly. So I write in all the activities we have going on, any planned trips that we have to do, any of the extracurriculars. We have PT twice a week that we do with my middle. So I make sure that I put those in the calendar first because those
Right.
are obviously the priority. Then
Mhm.
I put client deadlines in there. So anything that I have going on for a client that I know I do regularly or that I have to have on a specific date, I'll put that in. And then I break it down weekly and I work from a needs versus a wants list. And I love lists.
You're
It's
the
so
perfect person to have for this topic, just so you know. There's no better person to have this.
it's
Sorry,
perfect.
continue.
It's no, you're good.
Managing distractions. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
talk over you.
I'm okay with that. But that's what it's rolling with the punches, right? So I like to take the big picture and then break it down into the smaller steps. So the needs versus the wants list, I even include like anything I need to get out for meals. If I have to get
Yeah.
ground beef out, I'm gonna write that on my list.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
That's so
And
smart.
it allows you to see the bigger because we often, again, shortchange ourselves by saying, how did I only get this much done today? We're not taking into account having to get 3 meals ready. We're not taking into account having to do a load of laundry that day. Like all of those things, I put them on my list because then I can say, I probably only have an hour to work with around all of this that we have going on. So on PT days, I try not to schedule any calls because I know that I have to get client work done that day and
Mm,
it's going to be really tight. So I try not to schedule calls those days. We don't do school or calls on Fridays anymore because that's either my
geez.
catch-up day or just a day to do CEO work or to just dream or to just relax if I need it. If
Just
it's been a
be.
busy, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So it's that built-in flexibility that you create
Right.
instead of just packing your schedule so full all the time because you do have the power to create the schedule that you want.
Absolutely.
You don't have
Agree.
to take it. You can say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not available that time. But I had somebody scheduling for my interview series and saying, the first available isn't until March 28th. Is that okay? Is that too late? And I was like, no, that's the first available for a reason.
No,
I'm
that's
gone.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, that's great. Please do. I would love to have you. So that's a prime example of we're so used to getting everything right now, right this minute, that it's almost jostling to see that there's that space. And you're like, is that okay? Does that feel okay?
Right.
But you have to let that sit and settle, and then it starts to be the norm. And
Right.
it's
You almost feel like, I feel like I should be doing something right now. I have that feeling all the time. And I'm like, why do I feel that way? I've gotten everything done that I said I was going to get done today. Why do I feel like I'm just sitting around? That
because we're
bizarre.
so used to filling our time. I was also I had 26 credit hours and 6 jobs at one point in time when I was in college. So I'm used to also packing my schedule
How do you
full.
have 6 jobs?
Oh, it was a lot. Some of
Oh
them were
my
only like,
gosh.
I worked in the daycare on Sundays. So like it was some of them were only one day, but it still counted because it was regular every week.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, so I'm great at figuring out your schedule for you and helping you settle that. But I understand how uncomfortable it can feel when you do allow yourself that space to just sit and be.
Yep.
5 minutes can feel like a really long time.
That's why I suck at meditation. I've tried meditation so many times. I'm like, I they yoga too. When I sit and I've tried yoga like 4 times, I'm like, I'm gonna like it this time. I'm gonna like it this time. And then they're like, free your mind, clear it. And I'm like, I can't, I literally cannot clear my mind. How sad
Yeah.
is that? Like I can't not think about anything.
I actually purposely just took a meditation course the beginning of this year to, again, allow myself that time to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you, by minute 2, I was like, what else can I be doing while we're supposed to be? And I'm like, no, no,
Yep.
no, stop. You just have to stop. And it is really difficult, really difficult. But if you keep going with it, it does get easier.
That's what they say. Just
Yeah, it
kidding.
is. It does.
I honestly like I'm good with like 5 minutes. I can do a 5 minute meditation and be like, all right, I feel lighter, I feel better.
Yeah.
But I feel like any longer than that, and I'm again, what else could I be doing? I'm one of the like I should be doing something like waiting in a doctor's office. Let me answer some emails. And
Yeah.
it's I mean, talk about not giving yourself room to breathe. Like it's but a lot of moms do that. We most of us do, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. But also tell me that 5 minutes sometimes can just be so nice and it can
Yes.
be the reset that you need.
Yep.
So
It
just
work
remind
it
every
works. It does work. Even 5 minutes works.
Yep, yep.
It does.
Mission.
So when you're talking about you clearly have a lot of stuff to do on a daily basis. You always add in your what I call my mental checklist. Like moms always have a mental checklist where, you know, we're oftentimes the person that is there in the household, needs to make sure everything's there, needs to make sure the meals are planned. It drives you nuts. Like some days I'm just like, I don't want to figure this out. I don't want to figure this out at all. Like somebody else make a decision.
Yeah.
But you know, like you've got women, we have this natural like energy and uh you know, the ebbs and flows, this the productivity of our day. Like with me, I'm very productive in the morning. I'm very, very productive until like probably 1 o'clock. And then my brain is just like, no, we're not going to do anything else anymore today. And my husband's the opposite. So like he's up until like 2 a.m. because that's when he gets his burst of energy. So how do you personally how do you optimize it? How do you handle your energy levels throughout the day when it comes to like, okay, I've got all of this stuff to do in the morning, and then I've got to get everything done on my list, on my calendar. How do you manage that?
That's where the needs versus the wants comes in handy,
Love that.
because
Yeah.
I will for sure write down if I'm having a great day and I can get ahead in my schedule, those are the wants that I want to get done so that
Mhm.
I can then maybe again relax on Friday because I won't have as much to do because I'm ahead.
Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a chaotic day, my daughter is actually, she's got a fever right now. I got her to sleep, so she's
Oh.
resting. But yeah, so she's doing her thing. So when chaos happens, you have that ability to say, okay, I have a thing at 9:30. So what am I gonna do before then? I have to shower. So we're gonna
Yeah.
cuddle. We're gonna cuddle until, she feels safe and comfortable. And then I got her to sleep and she was fine and I was able to get ready and do all the things. But I had that built-in flexibility because I already did extra work yesterday, um, knowing
Smart.
that she was probably gonna, yeah, she had a really yucky cough yesterday. So I had a feeling it was either gonna
Oh
be
yeah, we know.
moving through and getting better or it's gonna get worse. So I did a little extra last night. She even was like, "Are you done working yet?" I'm like, "Almost. I got one more thing to do."
Mhm.
And that's another thing. It's okay to let them know what you're doing and that you are working. It's really fun to listen to her, especially as a 5-year-old, because they're so unfiltered.
Oh yeah.
But so she even yesterday, she was helping me make dinner. I made chicken soup, and she said, I know that your work is important, but we're more important. And I said,
Oh,
yes, yes, 100% you are, but I have to do the work in order to accommodate for the things that we want to do.
you want to eat?
Yeah, right?
Yes.
Exactly. You want to eat, you want to play your games, you want to play your Roblox. Yeah, well, this is what we have to
Yeah.
do.
Oh,
But
Roblox. Another episode.
yeah, but they understand that. So it's so nice to hear that and come back and say, okay, you're doing fine,
Yeah.
because you always feel like, are you doing enough? You're doing enough.
Mhm.
So like it's spring break as well. Yay, it's
Yay.
snowing. It's such a good spring break. But we also already just got back from kind of a trip. So I don't feel like I need to fill up their spring break with so much fun stuff and do something every day because we already did some fun things as a family. And I can justify it because I feel like that is something we always look for. You have to justify your actions.
Yep. So true.
But it does make you feel better. But we they have a trampoline. They're happy to sit and just be and watch a movie with me while I'm getting something done. So it's really just figuring out where my priorities are,
Mhm.
what I need to for sure do, what I would like to get done. Maybe even look ahead for like Friday. I really do want to take them to the park because the snow is finally melting. So I'm
Oh,
hoping it'll be warm enough by then. But I really want to take them to the park, so I want to make sure I get all the things done this week that I need to get done so that we can do that. And that's fine. They are looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. but I don't need to fill up Monday through Thursday. They already know what we're looking forward to. It doesn't have to be packed back to back with fun activities. It's okay to let them be creative and just
Kids aren't allowed to do that anymore. I read something the other day, like by handing, it said something like by handing kids a phone or a tablet all the time, which I've been guilty of. It helps me get my stuff done. Like we all do it. There's absolutely no shame.
yeah,
But by handing them that, we're giving them we're not giving them the chance to be bored, to figure out what to do, to do something, to go outside. I mean,
yeah,
we're the last generation that remembers what life was like before the internet. Like once we're gone, we're gone. Nobody's gonna remember life before the internet anymore. Our kids won't remember it. They've had it their whole lives. But we were allowed to be bored. We were given the opportunity, and it is an opportunity to go out there and figure out how to entertain ourselves. And kids are not, it almost feels like they always constantly have to be entertained. And that was one thing for my son too, is like, just go outside, just go do
yeah,
something else. I'm not a cruise director, okay? Like
yeah,
go
yeah.
do something else.
Well,
But
getting back to the like ebb and flow of your energy too, it's okay to let them be upset about something for a minute. Like you
yeah.
don't have to always, they don't have to always be happy because it's okay for them to learn how to work through those emotions. Like I remember I had back-to-back calls one day when Tavy was like 2,
Mhm.
and she was so mad at me that day. I gave her some goldfish crackers, but it was nap time and she wanted to nap. So they didn't know it, but I did, and it's a fun memory now. But I was on the call. I obviously was on mute for most of it, but she's over there throwing her goldfish crackers at me, pelting me with these goldfish crackers until she finally just laid down and fell asleep, right? It was fine, and it was cute. I took a picture and she had all the crackers all around
Oh
her,
my
and then
gosh,
she was
that's so fun.
snuggled down. But when she woke up, guess what? She gave me a hug. She was fine. She was just mad because she was tired. So
Yep.
it was okay to let her handle that and not make that mean that I'm a bad mom.
Yeah, that's I feel like that's a very important thing to teach kids is like you said, they need to be able to work through problems. They can't always be happy. They can't
Yeah.
always just be just 100% okay with everything. Like where it's a disservice to them as future adults. They're not going to be able to work through their stuff. Like, and my kids will tell me all the time, "You're so mean." I'm like, "Well, I'd rather be mean than allow you to grow up to be an asshole. No offense. Like, I
Right.
don't want you to grow up to be an ass, you know.
Right.
I want you
But
to be a
it's
functioning human
true.
being adult, you know."
So that's my response to how do you handle the ebb and flow and your energy levels when you're on, let it be okay that you are on and they
Yes.
learn that you are working.
Mhm.
It's not like you're going to be working forever. I
Right.
mean, 90% of the time I work maybe a max of 5 hours a day. And so and that now they get one-on-one time with me as we're doing schoolwork. So it's not like they're they don't need me as much as they want to
Yep.
need me all day, every day. It's okay for me to draw that boundaries
Exactly.
again, and
Mhm.
the expectation that they know that I need to get this done first. They were hungry yesterday at like 4 o'clock, and I was like, one more hour, man. I have one more hour. I gotta get this scheduled.
Wait for
Then
real
I'll start
dinner
making
time.
dinner. If you want a little snack, grab like a cheese stick
Yeah,
or fruit or an applesauce or something, but like you can wait an hour. It's gonna be okay.
you're not going to
We're
starve to death.
yeah.
I
And
say that
again, it's
every day.
right? And it's again that instant gratification. We feel like we need to be there right then all that time because
Correct.
if we're not there when they need us, how are they gonna be there? Like, how are they gonna expect us there when they really do actually need us? Well,
That's so
it's
true.
because they learn that it's okay to wait a minute for the things that they need or want. And so like it's okay to tap into your energy levels when it's available, when it's time, when you're like, I'm on it, just give me a minute.
Mhm.
And as they get older, I think it gets easier too, because like my 13-year-old, if it's lunchtime and I'm not ready to feed him yet, he can make his own sandwich. He's fine.
Yep.
So it's again deciding how badly do you want this? Do you want to
Mhm.
wait till I'm done or do you want to do it yourself? And giving them,
Important life skills,
yes, yeah,
really. I mean,
yeah. And I do, as a technique, if others are really feeling like they need to block schedule or do something like that, I don't. I hate block scheduling. I feel like it's too much pressure for me. And if I don't get it done in that time frame,
yeah.
really, really irritates me and really sets me back mentally. But if you are a person that likes those deadlines, the Pomodoro app is fabulous because you can set, it's like a timer basically. It works in like 20 minutes and then you get a 5 minute break and then 20 minutes. Yeah. It's fabulous for people who like that kind of pressure, I guess.
That's great for people who have ADD, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
It
gonna
works
send that to
really
my
well for a lot.
husband
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
because
It works.
sometimes I feel like I'm his boss, and I'm like, "Did you get that done yet?" No, I
Right.
didn't yet.
To get back on that. Yeah, so it allows them to kind of
Love
check
that.
in with themselves and know that it's like an accountability partner without having an accountability
That's
partner.
so great. I'm actually gonna to put that in the notes too, so people watching can see that too. Do you have any other like tools or apps or anything that you have used or you've seen be used, time management, etc., any of those things? I love Pomodoro. I'm gonna write that
Yeah,
down.
Pomodoro is great. There's a lot that are similar to Pomodoro, but I don't know. The block scheduling thing is huge for a lot of people, I think, where they're like, I'm doing an hour of content this morning. I'm gonna start writing. Like when they're having their cup of coffee, they'll sit down and just creating those habits is
Mhm.
really what's gonna help the most. We have a general routine, so I know where those pockets of time are for me in my day. And that's really, really the biggest thing is just finding not only what works for you, but those pockets of time that are more than 5 minutes long that you can sit down and get something done. Because a lot of people think that an hour is not long enough to get something done effectively. But that's not true. As a mom, we can get so much done in an hour. So that's
Yes,
that's my
we
big,
can.
yeah.
Sometimes multiple things in an hour.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know
So
how, but it
that's
happens.
what I do. And I give myself a limit. If I know I have an hour to get like pieces of content done, write out the very first part of it and then plug in and see the rest of it because then you'll likely fill whatever time you give yourself. If you give yourself 20 minutes to do something, you're probably going to try to get it done in that 20 minutes. If
Yeah.
you know that you have 2 hours to get something done, you're probably going to fill that entire 2 hours. So it's really just about maximizing the time you have available and holding yourself to that and really practicing it because it's not going to be great at first.
Yeah, well, that's the key to it is making it a habit, really. I mean, if you don't keep practicing it,
And
and
letting yourself be bad at it first because it's not going to be perfect. So letting yourself learn that.
I can't. No, I'm just kidding. I can't be bad at things. It is being a mother that's not only, I mean, I did homeschooling for a little bit, so it was nothing like actual homeschool. It was like the in between during COVID where they were working on the computers and we were just like, we can't do this anymore. It's ridiculous. They're not learning anything. So we pulled them out and we did homeschool. But knowing like there is that kind of it's almost like a mindset shift of like, I've got to do all of these things. And it seems like it's much bigger than it is until you actually write everything down. And then you're like, okay, I feel better.
It's handleable. Yeah.
Right. It's manageable and it's when it's all written down because I like to write things down too. I have 1,000 lists. I've got it just everything. But I love that. I think that's a great app. I'm gonna put that in the thing. And I just wanted to end it with how can we watch you? How can we see what you're doing? How can we visit you online and follow you? And I'll put those links below as well.
Wonderful. Yeah. No, I have like an entire gift section of freebies
Ooh,
in my
love.
on my website. Yeah, yeah. So momelevated.com is my website and you'll find me all the places. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook mostly. I even have a Facebook group, a free group for mom entrepreneurs. So
Ooh,
it's the
I'll
Mom
link that too, because that's a
Yeah, please do.
group. Everybody needs a community. Everybody needs that support.
And
And
I do master classes once a quarter.
oh,
So
great.
the next one coming up is about help when you need to delegate and
Oh
outsource.
man.
That's in a
So
couple of
needed. All that stuff is just so needed. I feel like being a mother nowadays is just so overwhelming unless you're actually putting the work into finding all of those things, all of that support and all of those systems, I guess. Their household systems.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. It really is. And that's the point of what I do. I take out, so you don't have to go down the Google rabbit hole. You can just live right there in one place and find it all.
Love that. Thank you so much, Jessica, for being on and walking us through all of this stuff. Maybe we feel a little bit less alone and a little bit more normal now.
Yes. Yeah, hopefully. That's the whole point of all of this, right? Is to have a little compassion in what we're doing.
Just a little bit for yourself. Have some compassion for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And give yourself time and space.
Love that. Thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.